absolutely mental scenes in the Club World Cup between Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich. Of course, the highest profile matchup, I think, that we've had so far on the Club World Cup. PSG winning it 2-0 on the night, and if you looked at that scoreline, having not watched the match, having assumed what would happen, you'd be like, yeah, probably about right. PSG are really good, champions of Europe. You know, Bayern Munich aren't necessarily amazing in the high-profile games under Vincent Kompany against good opposition, and that would seem right. And you'd probably say, who scored? Well, it was Desiré Doué and Ousmane Dembélé, and you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, makes sense. But that does not tell the story of this violent game. Multiple red cards to PSG, which is and also a horrific injury to Jamal Musiala at the accidental hands of Donnarumma, or should I say the large body, which by the way, in itself looked like a foul and should have been a penalty in my opinion. Of course he didn't mean it and he looked devastated, but these are 3 instances where the Paris Saint-Germain players have violently assaulted the Bavarian footballers in Bayern Munich. And of course, they went down to 10 men for it. But, you know, the Donnarumma situation, I mean, I'd be very keen to learn what the viewers of this video think, because it looked like a rash challenge. But we're going to get into all of it today. So welcome back to Football Yannick. How are you? Welcome back, friends. Of course, everyone is welcome here. Daily content in Football Yannick. So do consider subscribing to this channel if you like, if you're interested in my commentary on the beautiful game. So we are going to talk about this match today. Very, very heavily anticipated to see Luis Enrique's European champions take on a very strong Bayern Munich side. And boy, did a lot happen. It really did. So let's have a look. Let's use SofaScore to see. I mean, this feels like you can't see my cursor annoyingly. I need to figure out how to fix that. Player of the match, Donnarumma. This feels like this should not be the case because he did a bad. Right, let's talk about lineups quickly before we speak all that kind of stuff. PSG, it's essentially their first choice 11 bar Ousmane Dembélé. He's, I guess, not up to full fitness because he's the Ballon d'Or favourite, Ousmane Dembélé, and you know he showed why yet again today when he came off the bench. He's been coming off the bench, so it's pretty much their strongest lineup. You know, Marquinhos, Pacho, Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, Vitinha, Ruiz, Neves, that amazing midfield, Doué, Kvaratskhelia, and Bakola. Of course, we saw substitutes. Zaire Emery, he always comes on for one of the midfielders. Beraldo coming on to sort of defend at that point. Lucas Hernandez also, and the man himself, Ousmane Dembélé. Lucas Hernandez, like Pacho, might not be available for the next 2 games if they do get the one match. If we say, because in this competition, for example, Nicholas Jackson, I remember all too well, got a red card. It was increased to 2 games for violent conduct. You could say certainly the same with Hernandez. I'm not sure how much of a big miss he would be for PSG, but Pacho's their starting centre-back. High studs on the leg. That could be both their tournaments finished, semi-final and indeed final if it is 2 games. Yeah, we'll talk about those fouls in a little bit more detail in a moment. Of course, Bayern Munich, the original sweeper keeper, old man Neuer, still doing it in goal. Lema, Upamecano, Jonathan Tah, and Stanisic in the back 4. Pavlovic, Kimmich in the engine room in the midfield. Musiala, but not for long, bless him, flanked by Coman and Olise, of course. Now Leroy Sané is gone to Turkey. Harry Kane up front. We saw substitute appearances from Bowie. He's been playing a lot. Gnabry had to come on, of course. Leon Goretzka, Thomas Müller, and Guerrero, the attacking fullback, wingback. Right. So, yeah, blockbuster lineups, essentially. Like I said, really the only sort of big boy name missing in terms of starting is probably Ousmane Dembélé, who of course comes on and scores the goal that kills it, really. At which point Bayern thought they were going to come back into it because of the game state, really. So let's timeline this. Firstly, stats. PSG slightly less of the ball, but that might be skewed towards the end of the game because they had less players. They did have the 3 big chances to Bayern 0. Bayern had more shots though. PSG had more saves. That's probably why SofaScore gave Donnarumma man of the match. I imagine he didn't win superior player of the match. I'm yet to check on DAZN, probably for the optics alone and what happened. Let's take you through it, shall we? So, yes. Bowie comes on the 34th minute. There's an early injury to Stanisic. And, so I thought, for some reason, it must have it did happen at the beginning of the second half. No goals in the first half. It didn't seem like the most eventful first half. I was chatting to my mate it seems like, relatively high quality football, but I didn't necessarily think it was the highest quality first half. No big chances either team. And both had about the same amount of shots and 2 goalkeeper saves apiece. Actually, Bayern had 2 corners to PSG's no corners, and it was 51% possession to 49, so it's pretty even. Demonstration of quality, but nothing too exciting. And the beginning of the second half, there was the Donnarumma sort of rash challenge coming out. And again, I haven't, surgically analysed this. A lot of people on social media are suggesting it should have been, I guess, a yellow card and a penalty for Bayern Munich. Of course, Donnarumma putting on a challenge on the Bayern Munich number 10 Musiala, and I guess we got to spend a moment just reflecting on it. It is horrific. He broke his ankle, his foot was twisting the wrong way. He obviously screaming in agony. It's one of those, you see him in football, I suppose every 10 months you see one of these. It's just horrible for the young man, really, really nasty. The Bayern Munich players looked like they were horrified. They were trying to sort of go up to him, but loads of them were looking away. There was that kind of haunting moment of Donnarumma thinking he's fouled him, hearing him shout, but probably thinking he's trying to play for a pen or something, and he's walking away, and then Hakimi sort of next to him on the far side of the post, and Hakimi sort of obviously gestures something's happened, but Hakimi can't look, and he's hiding behind the goal. Donnarumma turns, probably looks, I imagine he sees young Musiala's leg in a place it shouldn't be, and understandably reacts really emotionally. Donnarumma looks like he's in tears, as you would be. I remember over the many years of watching football, examples of the person who breaks a leg of an opponent getting really emotional, often talking about how they hear the sound of it without trying to get too visceral. And he did look screwed up by it. I thought he wouldn't be. I genuinely thought Donnarumma wouldn't be able to carry on because he looks crestfallen that he's done that. And I guess you should be PSG fans would be really happy with the constitution of Donnarumma and the professionalism to carry on. But I guess that's true. But there's kind of a part of me that thinks there's an unsavory element that he just carries on, and he should almost just ask to be subbed out of respect. I know that's ridiculous, and that's just a part of me saying that. They should be I've done something terrible, I don't deserve to play this game or something. Not that, of course he didn't mean it. He did not mean it. It was just a dumb challenge. But I just had a part of me thought, he's going to tap out of the second half and be look, I can't believe that sort of thing. But no, he carried on, and in the second half, he got booed a lot in possession by the Bayern Munich fans in the stadium. I think it was the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, man, and it's just horrible. So, best wishes for Musiala. It looks like he'll be out. That back in in the 90s was legitimately a career ender. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter if you're young as, Musiala. But now, fortunately, the medical staff is so good that, they'll have him back in, if not the end of this coming season at some point. You'd hope, we're really, really hoping so for the poor kid. So anyway, massively dramatic, and of course, Gnabry comes on in the place of Musiala, and that's what we see there. Lame is booked. Ousmane Dembele, lots of other stuff happens, a few chances, and we get to the 70th minute, and Ousmane Dembele comes on for a pretty underwhelming Bradley Barcola in terms of out the free. Now, Desiree Doué gets booked for simulation, and it does look like simulation. I'd like to say, right, in the midst of this crazy game, and it was mental, the referee was, of course, Anthony Taylor. Chelsea fans know him well, Premier League fans know him well. I think he had a pretty good game. I think he does have good games, and I think, actually, of course, there was this long, running conspiracy of Anthony Taylor against Chelsea because he had like a big resume. It started when he sent Kovacic off for being fouled before VAR was in. So it shows you how long ago this love affair started. But it was simulation from Désiré Doué, looked like to me, and Anthony Taylor was right to book him. He did have a bleeding lip, but I'm very happy to be proven wrong. But from what I saw, he wasn't taken out. It was a dive. He got booked. So that was like a good thing from the ref. But you'd think Luis Enrique would be very unhappy with Taylor. Remember that final where Jose Mourinho was waiting for him in the car park after was it Roma? No, it was not in Turkey yet. Yeah, it must have been the Roma final, and he like had a, even though I don't think he did that much wrong, Taylor, he waited for him in the car park after they lost. But then Doué, after 2 minutes after getting booked for diving, benefits of a João Neves pass, and it's a really lovely finish from the young man. He scores in high-profile games all the time, and puts PSG ahead. He puts them ahead in the 78th minute, and you think that's that. That is that. Musiala has, been hospitalised. They've gone ahead now, PSG, and it looks like Donnarumma's not emotionally affected, and he can carry on playing well. And now they've got the goal from Doué, and Dembele's just come on a few minutes ago, and he's their main man. So you think that's it? That's curtains. That is curtains. Goretzka comes on. Hernandez comes on for Doué, which of course, they're starting to try and see it out with more defensive players. And of course, Müller comes on for what is his last ever appearance for Bayern Munich. And a few seconds on Thomas Müller. He's their all-time leading appearance maker. He's an absolute, what's he called? The space interpreter. He's a really funny guy. He's an amazing footballer. He's like sort of, it was The Guardian that once described him as like a gangly junior doctor who's got lost on a fun run and suddenly somehow turned up on a football pitch, which is perfect for him. It's like the perfect description. I really love Thomas Müller. He's a very funny guy. He's very peculiar. He's he doesn't look very graceful, but my word, does he get the job done? And yeah, man, he's Lewandowski. Shouts to him. So he comes on, and then Zaire Emery's the standard substitution in midfield for one of them boys, Ruiz. But then we see the first of 2 red cards in 82nd minute. And even at this point, you're thinking, there's probably going to be a bit of stoppage. Pacho gets booked for a foul. Studs, people didn't need, PSG fans, players were coming over to say Taylor, it's not even a booking, and they realised he sent him off straight red. And to credit Anthony Taylor, who's done a lot right, in this game, he was right. I was like, ooh, that doesn't seem like a red. What's he doing? He's main character syndrome here. But it's a red card, mate. It's a leg in a game where a Bayern Munich player's leg literally got snapped. It was a leg snapping challenge from the PSG centre back. Studs up towards the shin, with force. It was red card. Can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. So, Luis Enrique reacts. Again, takes off another forward in Kvaratskhelia, brings on Beraldo. Guerrero comes on, and we get 6 minutes extra time. And to be fair, I actually think it was going to be more than 6 minutes with everything that happened. I thought it was going to be maybe like 8 or at least 7, but no, it's 6. And then Hernandez gets sent off for an elbow. Another red card. I must confess, at this point, I didn't see how much of a deliberate elbow it was, but the commentary team on DAZN seemed to think, red card, and it wasn't overturned by VAR, and VAR were inclined to get involved here, as we'll find out in just a moment. So it was a violent conduct from Hernandez throwing his arm up, and he's got sent off. So there's 9 players now. Now there's only 4 minutes left, but all it would take is 1 goal. And you'd have to say PSG are cooked because they're 9 men and they got to play extra time with 9 men. Harry Kane even scored a header, was offside. It was miles offside. And actually, it was a really good PSG offside trap. But that would have been it, the Harry Kane header. And that would have been, I would have thought that would have been curtains for PSG. And then Ousmane Dembele scores a lovely finish from Hakimi. Hakimi plays in Ousmane Dembele. The Ballon d'Or favourite whips it. It curls into the side netting, well away from Manuel Neuer. Beautiful goal from the Frenchman. And superb scenes, incredible, and there is a penalty shout, high boot on Thomas Muller in the box, and this is in the 99th minute, so you did get a lot of stoppage in the end, but because of everything that happened, and there was a lot that happened. This was a really interesting one. I think it was who was it? Did Nuno Mendes come off? No, so I think it was Mendes on Muller. It's such a tricky one because it's like the ball's in between his boot and his head. So he doesn't kick him in the head. So that's why VAR got involved, and then Anthony Taylor then decides to overturn and say no penalty, to which Luis Enrique was like, thank you, because obviously at that point he was like, it's an Anthony Taylor conspiracy against us, as is the way with these coaches. But it is an interesting one because no, he didn't kick him in the head, but he goes for the ball and he knows Muller's there. You can see him looking at him, but that doesn't stop him kicking his foot up when Muller's there, because you could still say it's a high boot dangerous play. You get fouls for that all the time without contact to the head. You know, a high boot isn't he kicked him in the head, it's he put his foot where it was dangerous often. So I feel like it could have gone either way. And not that I don't think it would have made a massive difference. Harry Kane probably would have converted it and they just lose 2-1. That's what I think happens. They wouldn't have had time to go and get another one. And there we have it. An absolute mental ding-dong. PSG go through and they will face, of course, the winner of Real Madrid and Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund. Of course, Joe banned for that. So we miss a Bellingham derby, as it were. But a real dramatic, entertaining match. But of course, the main takeaway is we really do wish Jamal Musiala the best, the young man, because it looked horrific. Let me know what you think, guys. Comment down below. Thank you for your support, liking and subscribing. And yeah, do come back, man. Everyone's welcome. All right, peace.